So starting with the first question. So in the first question, decane is having a freezing point of minus 30. So freezing point or a melting point is minus 30. And the boiling point is 174. And what is the state of a substance? Any temperature below its melting point, the substance will be solid. Any temperature between its melting and a boiling point, the substance will be liquid. And any temperature after the boiling point, the substance will be gas. So what happened? A small sample of a decane is placed in an open beaker in an oven where the temperature is 120. So where the temperature is 120, so what will be the state where 120 will come? Between minus 30 and 174 will have 120. So what will be the state of this decane? It will be liquid. What happened to a sample? It does not boil, because to boil it should be around 174 should be there. It does not melt because melting happens when a solid convert into liquid. So that is wrong. It does not sublimate as well, because sublimation solid directly convert into gas. So what happened? It evaporates. So evaporation happens because it is a liquid. When a substance is in a liquid state, so two things can happen. Either it can boil at a fixed temperature, or it can evaporate at any temperature below the boiling point. So why evaporation is correct? The temperature, the boiling temperature 174. So at 174, if the temperature is 174, it will boil. But because the temperature is not 174 for the liquid, for the substance, it is 120. So 120 is less than the boiling point. So the substance will evaporate. Question 2. Student puts exactly 25 cm cube of hydrochloric acid. So which apparatus can be used for exact measurement of 25 cm cube? Pipette is the most accurate. We can use a burette because 25.00 is there. Pipette or a burette can be used. And student added 2.5 grams of sodium carbonate and measure the temperature change. To measure the temperature change, what he need? He need a thermometer. To measure the mass, he need a balance. Yeah, that's right. So he need a pipette, burette pipette, thermometer, or a balance. So that's why C is the right. A stopwatch, because why this A is not correct. Measuring cylinder does not measure accurate volume. It's written 25.00. So it means we want to measure it accurately. Stopwatch is not needed. We are not measuring the rate or the speed of reaction. Burette and pipette or thermometer can be, but what is the missing name? Because we are measuring a mass, so there should be a balance as well. That's why C is the right answer for this. In question 3, student separate sugar from a pieces of a broken glass by dissolving the sugar in water and filter off the broken glass. So broken glass will be left on the filter paper. That will be the residue. And what passes through the filter paper, that's called filtrate. And what will be the filtrate? That will be a sugar solution. So what is a filtrate? It does not, no broken glass will be there. It will not be a pure water because the sugar is added. So it's not pure water, it's a sugar solution. So D will be the right answer, because sugar dissolved in water and now you have a sugar solution, and the glass, the broken glass, and that broken glass left on the filter paper as residue, and sugar solution passes through the filter paper. Question 4. Which statement explains why metal conduct electricity when solid? So what is the reason why metals are good conductor? Because metals have a free or the delocalized electron. The structure of a metal, they have a lattice of a positive ion, and there is a delocalized or the free electron. So due to the presence of the free electron, the metals can conduct electricity. So B is the right answer. They have a positive ions. The positive ions are not free to move. That is wrong. They have positive ions, that's true. But these positive ions are not free to move. The positive ions can only vibrate. Electrons are free to move. That's why it can conduct electricity. Then which description for a brass is correct? Brass is an alloy of a copper and zinc. So it's a mixture of two metals. So A is the right answer. Then the equation for a reaction of iron 3 oxide with carbon monoxide is shown. What is the maximum mass of iron that could be made from 460 gram of iron 3 oxide? So for these type of questions, like if mass is given, we can take the ratio of the mass. So what we can do, we can take the ratio of the mass, but what ratio we'll take? We need the maximum mass of iron. So we want the mass of iron which is produced by 480 grams of iron 3 oxide. So now we have to take a ratio, because mass is given, so we have to take a ratio of the mass. So iron is, according to period, like we'll use a periodic table, iron is 56. So 56 multiplied by 2, that will be 112, and 112, because the molecular mass of iron 3 oxide, 1 mole is there. So 56 multiplied by 2 is 112, and 16 multiplied by 3, that is 48. So 112. So this will be 160. And what about iron? Iron is, one atom is 56, but 2 are there, so 112. So ratio of the mass, if we have 160 grams of iron oxide, we should get 112 gram of iron. But in the question, we have 480. So how much iron we should get? X. We cross multiply. So 160 into X equals 112 multiplied by 480. So what about X? X is equals to 112 multiplied by 480 divided by 160. So when we simplify this, like 160, and this will be 3, and 3 multiplied by 112, so it will be 336. So D will be the correct answer. So by using the ratio of the mass, because in the question we were having the mass of iron oxide and we want to find the mass of iron, that's why we are taking a ratio of the mass between iron oxide and iron. If there was like carbon monoxide mass was given, then we'll take the ratio of carbon monoxide mass to iron. So if mass is given, we'll take the ratio of the mass. If moles are given, we'll take the ratio of the moles. In question 7, which statement describe the attractive force between the molecule? Molecule, simple covalent substances, like example, this chlorine, this is one molecule, this is another molecule. So what kind of intermolecular forces are there between the molecule? It is a weak force, weak attraction is there. So any statement, this force is always a weak. That's why simple molecular substance have low melting and boiling point. So anything which use the term strong is cannot be an answer. A and B cannot be an answer. So we are left with C and D. Then they are weak forces formed between the covalently bonded molecules. So C is the right answer. Why not D? They are weak force which hold the ions together. There are no ions in the simple molecule. They have a covalent, like in a covalent substances, you don't have free ions, or ions are not present. You have ions in an ionic compound which contain a lattice of a positive and negative ions. And whenever you have ions, they will have a strong force as compared to molecules. In question 8, which statement about the carbon is correct? Diamond and graphite, both are simple molecular. That is wrong, because both are macromolecular giant structures. Diamond and graphite both are used to make cutting tool. No, diamond is used for cutting as a cutting tool, but not the graphite because graphite is soft and slippery. Each carbon in diamond is bonded 3. That is wrong. In diamond, there are each carbon forming a 4 covalent bonds and a giant and a macromolecular structure. Graphite can conduct electricity and it has a giant structure, so statement D is right. Graphite is having hexagonal rings and a layer structure, and there's a free electron which can move between the layers and can cause or can conduct electricity. So graphite, diamond, silicon 4 oxide, these are the macromolecules which you have to learn, even their structures as well. The formula of aluminium ion is Al plus 3 or 3 plus. What is the formula for aluminium sulfate? So aluminium sulfate, aluminium is 3 plus or plus 3. What is the sulfate is there? Sulfate is SO4, and what is the charge? -2. So we whenever first we simplify the valency and then we cross multiply. So this 2 will come with aluminium and 3 will come with sulfate. So the formula for aluminium sulfate will be Al2 SO4 in a bracket and then 3. So Al2 SO4 in a bracket 3. So it matches with option C. In question 10, which statement about the product of electrolysis using inert electrode means like we are using a graphite or platinum electrode. So which statement is correct? Molten lead-2 bromide, so bromine is formed at cathode. So if we have molten lead-2 bromide, like it contains lead ion and it contains bromide ion. So lead ion, if it's a molten, it does not contain any water, because molten substance means without water. So lead ion will move, it's a positive ion, so it will move towards cathode. And bromide ion will move towards anode. So bromide ion will move towards anode, but they mention here it is moving towards cathode. So statement 1 is wrong. So any option with 1 is totally wrong, incorrect. Then we check option 2. When dilute sulfuric acid is electrolyzed, oxygen is formed at anode. So how to identify if we electrolyze sulfuric acid? It contains hydrogen ion, it contains sulfate ion, it contains hydrogen ion. And it contains hydroxide ion. So hydrogen ions are positive ions. They will move towards cathode. And sulfate, nitrate, and carbonate never move. So hydroxide ion. The hydroxide ions are the negative ions. They will move towards the anode. So whenever hydroxide ions will move there, what we'll get? We'll get an oxygen gas. So dilute sulfuric acid is electrolyte and oxygen gas is formed. So statement 2 is correct. So it means statement 2 is correct. So option which includes statement 2 should be the right answer. So that's why C is the right answer, because it includes 2. And 4 will be correct as well, because common 4 is always there. So when we do electrolysis of sulfuric hydrochloric acid, HCl, so it will be H plus, Cl minus, H plus, and OH minus. It is a concentrated. So Cl will move towards anode. We'll get a chlorine. So that is also true. So statement 4 is true. Statement 2 is also correct. That's why C is the right answer. And when concentrated sodium chloride is electrolyzed, sodium does not move. Hydrogen is a molecule that moves. What is the energy change in this reaction? So how to work out the energy change during a chemical reaction? The formula is a bond breaking. This reaction is exothermic. As I mentioned, this reaction is exothermic, so it means enthalpy change should be negative. So A, C, and D cannot be an answer at all because they are positive. So we are left with only A and B. And then we'll substitute the values. The formula is a bond breaking energy minus bond forming is equals to enthalpy change. So bond which we are breaking, and the bonds which you are forming. The bond breaking, carbon-carbon is there. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 CH bonds are there. And chlorine. Bond forming, CC bond is there. 5 CH bonds are there. Then CCl is there. And then HCl is there. So we substitute their values. All the bond energy values are given. So we'll substitute the values for each bond and then use the formula, the bond breaking energy minus bond forming energy should be equal to enthalpy change or energy change. So when we substitute these values, we'll get minus 120. So just you have to substitute the values and at the last, bond breaking minus bond forming. Question 12. Hydrogen is used as a fuel in rockets and also used as a fuel cell. Which statements are correct? Both. The first one, both uses produce water. That is true. Whenever we burn hydrogen, it will always produce water. So that is true. Correct. Burning of a hydrogen produce pollutant gas? No, it does not produce a pollutant gas. So basically when 1 is there, any option with 1 is correct and any option with 2 is incorrect. And a fuel cell produces electricity. That is the main purpose of a fuel cell, that it produces directly produces electricity when a hydrogen and oxygen break down, produce electrons which travel through the external circuit and produce electricity. Question 13, which statement about the effect of increasing a temperature on a rate of a reaction? So increase are correct. Increasing a rate of a like when we increase the temperature, rate of reaction increase. Activation energy is not affected by temperature. Only thing which affect the activation energy is the use of a catalyst. Catalyst lower the activation. And when we increase the temperature, the particles have like collide often, more collisions are there. That's why the rate of the reaction will also increase. So 1 and 3 are the correct statement which explain the effect of temperature. Or there can be another statement as well, like there will be a greater proportion of a molecule with high energy as we increase the temperature. In question 14, this is a reversible reaction, formation of ammonia by a Haber's process. The forward reaction is exothermic. So when the reaction is exothermic, the reactants have high energy and the product will have low energy. So we have N2 plus 3H2 gives 2NH3. So as the reaction is exothermic, if what changes like decreases the yield, like amount or decreasing the yield or shift the equilibrium towards the left hand side. Because if the equilibrium shifted toward the left hand side, the yield will decrease. So when we increase the temperature, we have both reactant and product, but when we increase the temperature, most of the ammonia will decompose to form nitrogen and hydrogen. So the percentage of ammonia or yield will decrease. So we should increase the temperature, that will decrease the yield. What about the pressure? What is the effect of pressure on the reversible reaction? So if we increase the pressure, equilibrium will shift towards side where less moles. So here we have 1 plus 3, 4 moles and 2 moles. So if I increase the pressure, equilibrium will shift toward the right hand side. So yield will increase. But in the question, we want to find which change will decrease the yield. So if we increase the pressure in this example, it will shift the equilibrium towards the side of less moles or shift toward right. Then we should do an opposite change. So we should decrease the pressure. It will shift the equilibrium towards side of more moles, or it will shift towards left-hand side. So we should decrease the pressure and increase the temperature to reduce the yield of ammonia. So increase in pressure and increase in temperature and decrease in pressure. So C will be the right answer. So reversible reactions are affected by changing temperature, changing the pressure only for gaseous reactant or product, as well as changing the amounts, either adding or removing reactant or product. X is a pink solid, Y is a blue solid. And X is heated, X is heated, water is produced. So what is X? A pink solid, so it is actually hydrated because it is producing a water on heating. So it is a hydrated and a pink solid, which we have also used to identify the presence of water. That is cobalt 2 chloride. Cobalt 2 chloride, when it contains water, it is pink in color. And then when water is added to Y, the solid turned pink. So means, and what about Y? Y is a blue solid. So what is a blue solid? That is a hydrated copper sulfate. The copper sulfate is blue in color. So both are hydrated compounds. X is heated, water is produced. So it means X is a hydrated compound. It is having a water of crystallization. So X is a cobalt chloride, cobalt 2 chloride. And what about Y? X is a hydrated cobalt 2 chloride. And when we have cobalt 2 chloride, it will decompose, like we have COCl2 dot 6H2O. When we supply the heat energy, it become COCl plus 6H2O. So this is pink in color. This one is blue in color. And when we add water, the blue color changes to pink. So this, when it contains a water crystallization, that is a hydrated. And when it does not contain a water crystallization, that is anhydrous. So hydrated cobalt 2 chloride, X is hydrated cobalt 2 chloride and Y is anhydrous cobalt 2 chloride. Because in the question, Y is produced when we are decomposing X. And that is also used to identify or check the presence of water. In question 16, iron 2 chloride react with chlorine to form iron 3 chloride. Which statement about this reaction is correct? Here we have, as you can see, iron 2 chloride is there. So iron is +3. Chlorine belongs to group 7, so -1. Here chlorine element 0. Here we have iron 3 because FeCl3, and we have chloride -1. So we have to check which statement according to the question are correct. Iron 2 ions are reduced to iron 3. Iron 2 ions are not reduced to iron 3. They are oxidized because there is an increase in oxidation number. So one is not correct. Chlorine act as a reducing agent. Chlorine 0 become -1. So for chlorine reduction happen, and now for a substance which reduction happen, that is an oxidizing agent. So any statement which include 1 and 2 are wrong. So this is wrong, this is wrong, this is also wrong. So D will be the right answer. And iron 2 ion loses electron. That is true because oxidation is a loss of electron. So iron 2 ion become iron 3 ion by a loss of electron. And chlorine molecules are reduced. That is true that chlorine 0 become -1. So they are reduced. So 3 and 4 are the correct statements. Which row describe the properties of acid? Definition of acid. Acid are proton donor. not accepted, and the pH of the acids less than 7 or more than 7, so it will be less than 7. So C will be the right answer. Which of the element form amphoteric oxide? Amphoteric oxide means oxide which can react with both acid and alkali. So aluminum oxide is aluminum, zinc, lead. These are amphoteric oxides. Carbon monoxide can be neutral or acidic. Magnesium is a basic, and silicon 4 oxide is a non-metal oxide, so it will be acidic as well. So 3 examples, as I mentioned during the explanation, 3 examples you have to memorize for amphoteric oxides such as zinc, aluminum, and lead. And it can react with both acid and alkali. That's why we called it as amphoteric oxide. Copper 2 chloride crystals are made by reacting copper 2 carbonate to hydrochloric acid until no more dissolve. So first what we do, we have hydrochloric acid, the solution. And to this hydrochloric acid, we are adding calcium carbonate, copper carbonate, CuCO3, which is green in color. We are adding it. We are adding until no more copper carbonate dissolve, like react. So we'll have unreacted copper carbonate. And when all the acid will be used up, so this solution will turn into copper chloride solution. So which process is used to obtain the pure copper 2 chloride from the mixture? The first one, because we have to remove the unreacted copper carbonate. So what we should do, we should first do filtration. And then this copper chloride is a soluble salt. So how to obtain a soluble salt? So either we can use evaporation or crystallization. So only there's no crystallization mentioned. A and B cannot be an answer, C or D. So filtration followed by evaporation of the filtrate. When we first filter, we'll have copper carbonate separate from the solution, and from the solution we'll remove all of the liquid out, so it will produce solid. So two techniques are there which are used to obtain the soluble salt from a solution by either by crystallization or evaporation. So moving from right to left across the period shows the increase in the metallic character. Why does the metallic character increases from right to left? What is the reason? The atom have more electron in the outermost shell. If the atoms are having a more electron in the outermost shell, but that is true, like group number is, but that does not explain the idea. And moving from right to left, I drew by mistake, I drew an arrow from left to right. We are moving from right to left. So if we are moving from right to left, like here we will have group 1, group 2, group 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and 8. So the atoms have more electron in outermost shell. So that is wrong, because if you move from right to left, less electrons will be there, not more. The atom more readily gain electron. They don't readily gain electron. They ready, because like on the right hand side we have non-metals. Non-metal tend to take electron, and on the left hand side we have metal. Metal tend to lose electron, not gain electron. The atom more readily loses electron to form a positive ion. That is right. And the charge on the nucleus get larger. That is wrong, because right to left proton number is decreasing, so the charge will get small. So C is the right answer for this. So this was October-November 2021 paper 2 variant 1. The next session will discuss the remaining questions.